Today I've got for you guys the best build for any SMG in Warzone 2 based on actual accurate attachment stats. We'll be grabbing all of the accurate stats from sim.gg. Going to begin our build by tackling one of the biggest problems that SMGs have straight out the box, and that's their damage range. You can see on an SMG like the Vaznev, an enemy only needs to actually be 11 meters away from you to have your damage drop off and the TTK increase by about 150 milliseconds. And also, since our meta builds for primary weapons like LMGs are typically quite slow and built for quite long range, we need our SMGs to cover not just short range, but also mid range so we can stay versatile. So the first necessary attachment I'd recommend you put on every SMG build to give the damage range a nice boost is going to be the X10 RR40 suppressor muzzle. Now I know there's a lot of players out there who probably think suppressors are useless in Warzone 2 because there's no red dots on the minimap. Well, suppressors in this game actually give the best boosts to damage range and muzzle velocity, and they also allow you to stay a little bit more low profile and blend in a bit more with the overall sound stage of the game. The X10 RR40 is available on every SMG in the game, and it gives the best boosts to both damage range and to muzzle velocity. Now, we aren't done with buffing the damage range just yet. To push that damage range out to a level where we're happy with it, I think a barrel is a must, so have a look through the barrel list and find the one which gives the highest damage range multiplier. Examples of this barrel on multiple SMGs, you've got the Vaznev with the CAS 1 barrel, the Lachmann Sub with its FTAC M Sub barrel, and the Mini Back with the Back 9 barrel. In many cases, these barrels also help out a little bit with recoil control, but SMG recoil isn't too bad in this game to begin with, so it's just a little bonus, not a necessity. It's really obvious to see the power of this combo of attachments when we look at the TTK graph. If we just look at the first damage range drop off, we've extended that by about 4 meters. And as I said, that was a damage drop off of a 150 millisecond time to kill. That is literally the difference between getting a kill and dying in a fight. Then we can look at the second damage drop off, which has been extended by about 7 meters, and that third damage drop off by about 9 meters. Also, guys, if you're finding the info in this video to be useful or entertaining, then please do subscribe down below. I'm looking to push to 100,000 subscribers this year, so every sub helps. There is actually one caveat to using the muzzle barrel attachment combo, and that's our favorite little SMG, the Fennec. This SMG has access to this barrel, the ZLR 16.5 inch ignition barrel, which gives a pretty insane 0.4 times boost to your damage range from one attachment. That damage range boost absolutely trumps any other muzzle and barrel combo on any other SMG, so for the Fennec, you can just run that barrel with no muzzle and free up space for another attachment, which we'll cover in just a minute. Now, some of the stat crunching can get a little complex, so to chill out from Warzone 2, I like to jump onto One State RP on my phone, today's video sponsor. One State is the first ever open world online game on mobile with a roleplay mode. It's hilarious to immerse yourself in the RP. You can roleplay as a criminal, drive fast cars, evade the police, and much more. The game can hold hundreds of people at a time on one map, and there's thousands of players playing for you to interact with, all with their own stories. Build your career as a policeman and lead a faction, join a gang and lead that criminal lifestyle, or just be a hard worker and build up your business, trade with other players. It's all up to you. Also, the game is really well optimized across a ton of devices, so it doesn't matter what you're playing on, you'll be able to play comfortably. One State is absolutely free and has no annoying ads like all of those other free mobile games. Head down to the link in the description and download One State RP to come and play with me. For the first players, I'll also leave my promo code down there as a little gift. Anyway, back to our SMG blueprint. We now want to get this thing handling a little faster. Specifically, we want to be finding some boosts to ADS speed and sprint to fire speed, especially now that we've added in some of those heavier attachments that are going to slow the gun down a bit. ADS speed and sprint to fire speed go hand in hand, and they're incredibly important to making sure that we're ready for any engagement that comes our way. Lucky for us, there's an attachment that's available on every single SMG in the game that gives boosts to all of those handling stats that we're looking for, and it's actually a laser. The one that I'd highly recommend actually can have 2 different names depending on what weapon you're using, so it can be the FSS ALL V laser, that's what it is on the Vaznev, and then on the Lachmann Sub and on some other guns, it is called the VLK LZR 7 milliwatt laser. These lasers give the best balance of boost to the stats that we actually care about for handling, so ADS times improved, sprint to fire speed and tactical sprint to fire speed improved, and there's no statistical cons either to running these lasers. Now, technically the laser is visible, which can be considered a con, but in real game scenarios, it's very hard to spot the laser, so it's not really a problem. Next up, I would 100% recommend that you add a stock to your build. I've seen so many players default to the quickest ADS speed stock, which is usually the stockless or the removed stock or the collapsed stock, whatever it's called on whichever SMG you're using. I would understand why it gives nice boosts to ADS time and sprint to fire time, but these view kick and gun kick multipliers are horrendous. It makes the gun impossible to control outside of 3 to 4 meters in front of you, so I would highly recommend you just steer clear of this as much as possible. Instead, for the stock, I'd recommend you find whichever one gives you the highest boost to ADS strafe speed. Warzone 2 by design is way more pre-aim heavy than Warzone 1 was, so when it comes to clearing buildings effectively, being able to move through it really quickly whilst ADS'd is incredibly effective. So just some examples of which stock you're picking on some of the SMGs. For the Vaznev, that would be the Otrazat stock. For the Fennec, it would be the Agile Assault 7 stock. And for the Hurricane, it would be the Demo Quicksilver stock. So just look for whatever gives the best ADS strafe speed. Some SMGs in the game don't actually have any stocks that give ADS strafe speed. If that is the scenario, like for the Lachmann Sub, then just pick the attachment that gives the best ADS time, but not the stockless or the removed stock or whatever it's called on the gun you're looking at, because we've already explained we don't like that. In this example, that would be the FT Mobile stock, gives a little boost to ADS time, so we'll chuck that on. The final attachment we're going to add to round out the build is an absolute no-brainer. It's necessary for handling, taking out multiple enemies when you're playing, duos, trios, or even quads, and it's still pretty useful in solos as well, and that's going to be a bigger magazine size. So in some situations, you will only have one bigger mag available, like on the Vaznev, so in that situation, just chuck that on. If the SMG you're using has multiple different bigger magazine sizes to pick from, like the Lachmann here has a 40 and a 50 round mag, then it pretty much comes down to personal preference. The 50 mag is going to be a little bit slower to work with than the 40, but you gain 10 extra bullets. Honestly, guys, it's personal preference. Pick whichever one you like. Couple of caveats to always using the magazine attachment, though, are going to be the mini back and the Hurricane. You see, the mini back already has a massive magazine size, and the Hurricane, well, you can't change the magazine size on this. So what should you run instead? For both of these weapons, as well as that Fennec that we talked about earlier, where we didn't put a muzzle on it, and so for all of these, we've got an extra attachment slot available, I'd recommend you put on a rear grip, and typically, I would say just shove on the one which gives the buffs to ADS time, sprint to fire time, and tactical sprint to fire time. The ADS speed boosts are pretty minimal from this attachment, which is why we don't include it as a core part of a lot of the SMG builds, but when we've got the available attachment, it's the next best thing. So following this SMG blueprint of a muzzle, a barrel, a laser, a stock, and a magazine size with potentially a rear grip, if you're not running one of those other attachments, you end up with a bunch of SMGs that look something like this, so you can copy these builds and use them in your games. These are statistically the best builds to ensure we're getting really good TTKs out of these guns out to some decent ranges, whilst also still feeling snappy and handling really nicely. If you found any of the info I've explained in today's video useful, then please do leave a like down below. It really helps push this video in the algorithm and get it out to as many people as possible. And also make sure you subscribe so you can keep up to date with every new upload as soon as it comes out and get the good info as quick as possible. Now, if you want the statistically best build for assault rifles in Warzone 2, you need to check out this video next, where I give you a full breakdown of a blueprint for assault rifles with the best TTK and the lowest recoil.